Scarfe here. Welcome back to another one of these weekly shows. Today, I'm joined by a lovely panel. Three of them, two of them are with me now. Firstly, regular on the show, Billy. How you doing?
Yeah, very good. Very good. It's good to come on after a nice win.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, not what we've been doing with the last few weeks. So no, nice to have you on. Having won, as you say, Simon. Welcome for your debut. How you doing?
Thank you very much, sir. I'm doing very well.
It's an honour to have you on, so thank you very much
It's
for
an honor
giving
to
us
be
your
on.
time. Oh, thank you very much. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to smash that subscribe button. It's free to do so, and it helps the channel and the podcast grow. We provide lots of content as far as match day vlogs, match previews, match reactions, weekly shows like this. Not a Spurs fan, we also have a Premier League show every Wednesday night, 7:30 p.m. to offer you, as well as England content whether international breaks occur or a major tournament. If you are listening on the podcast platform, don't forget to drop us a follow and a 5-star review. So we will crack straight into it. Actually, before we do, I always forget, I must remember, don't forget to check out our sponsors, the Kitman. And if you use coupon SCARFY15, you get a 15% discount for you guys. But Brentford, I want to go back before that unfolded. I mean, it felt like a really busy game. So, Billy, we will kick it off with you. Your thoughts on the lineup? Because when it came out, we saw it was similar to that Arsenal team. Madison, Kulusevski, Bentancur in that midfield. We saw Johnson, Solanke, Son up top. Werner and Basuma made the bench. They're both a doubt earlier in the week. Was there any surprise in there for you that you didn't expect?
Not really, because it was unchanged. But I think the only question mark was whether Basuma would start or not, because he was returned to training and stuff. But yeah, no surprises really. And I thought it was the correct team. The only question mark for me was whether Basuma would get the nod or not.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I was interested to see whether Basuma would make it or not. Obviously, made the matchday squad, made the bench, but not the starting 11. Simon, what were your thoughts on that starting 11 when it came out? Anything that you would have done differently at the time? I know it's a long while ago now. It does feel like.
No, I mean, I had a couple of questions around Bentancur and Bissouma. Just like Billy, I thought Bissouma would start, hearing him being back from that injury. And also, Bentancur just played that 90 minutes. So I was worried that he might not be fit and ready to go for that full game or to start that game. Other than that, I think I was thinking a lot about that right hand side. I was thinking about maybe wanting, like, if in my preferred lineup I had Kulusevski going out wide and Berryval coming in that advanced 8 role on the right side. But I'm very pleased that Ange went another way.
Yeah, Ange did go the other way. I mean, it did work in terms of the result. But no, I think you make a really good point. I mean, Bergvall, I think he's got a bright future ahead of him. We'll probably discuss him a little bit later. But no, I definitely get why you wanted him to start. Welcome him onto the podcast. Better late than never. Kallum, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, mate. I'm all good. Just it's a late one, so I'm sorry I am late. Evening, boys, as well.
No worries at all. Thank you very much for coming on. I'm going to put you straight in the spotlight. What were your thoughts on that lineup, Brentford, before the game? Is there anything that shocked you? I was just asking the boys, is that kind of what you expected? It's similar to kind of like the Arsenal team?
Yeah, I think it was very similar to what I thought we would go with because, I mean, Sarr had a stinker against Coventry. So I thought maybe he would have been one of the only people who may have come in. Basuma was only just coming back from injury, so I didn't really expect much from him. And if Ange had gone with Werner to come into the starting lineup after that game on Wednesday night, I think everyone would have probably burnt the stadium down, to be honest, mate. I'm not going to lie. It wouldn't have gone down well. So, yeah, it was a very positive lineup and it definitely had all the makings for what we hoped would have been something that could turn into a win.
Yeah, well, it didn't start off very well, did it? 23 seconds in, Brentford took the lead. I mean, they've done similar against Manchester City at the Etihad. So I wonder maybe if there's something we could have done to prepare that. Kind of maybe, I don't think Ange would have done it for 1 minute, but sit in for the first few minutes because Thomas Frank talked about it after the game. It's really interesting to hear on the radio on the way home about, that's what he believes. Go and get the early goal. It's something to sit on, counter, rely on those set pieces. And kind of way he explained it really well about his plan. And it nearly worked against Man City, and it could have worked another day against us. I think that we were clear winners, but his ideas certainly made sense. But Simon, I'll come to you on this one. It wasn't a great start, was it? I mean, it's a good goal though by Mbama. I don't think there's much we could do about the goal itself.
I mean, I think Ange gets a lot of criticisms around stuff that I don't really care about or I'm not worried about. But one thing I think is a valid criticism about us is how we mark in the box. I think you've often seen us lose a man and not really be aware of or not really communicating in an effective way. Where and I mean that goal was a perfect example of that. Just players switching off, not being ready and alert. So, yeah, it wasn't a great start. And I have to admit, I was nervous about this game, not so much because of our progress and stuff like that, but more about the fan base. Was getting a little bit toxic. You could feel the nerves in some parts of the fan base. So I kind of felt like a win here and a good performance would do us good. So when we didn't start that well, my stomach did drop, but we handled it well. I mean, didn't really affect how we played, and I think we dominated that first half and came back. I think just 8 minutes after that. So yeah, it wasn't a good start, but I think we handled it well, which is a sign of something at least.
We did, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were resilient. We kept going, and we did win the game, which we will get into. But Billy, yeah, same kind of question to you. It wasn't the start we wanted. Do you look at that and go, credit Brentford, really good. They've done it against Manchester City. Really good goals. Anything Spurs, should have done better. When we were stopping on the ball, was the cross coming too easy for you looking back on it? Because, if this is a bigger team that does it and takes the lead, it might be a different scenario. Brentford turned out to be quite easy to break down because they made mistakes. But, it wasn't the start we wanted at all, was it?
No, it wasn't. And I don't think there's a lot we could have done, really. I think maybe could have got tighter on the cross. The finish is an unbelievable finish, and there's not really much anyone could do about that. He's a really, really good player and one that I would love to sign, actually. I think he'd be excellent for us in Bomo. But I think, it's just one of those things that can happen. It obviously happened against the best team in the world the week before. Man City is obviously a good tactic from them. Now that they've used it twice, I'm sure that teams will switch on for the beginning completely, and try and stop it. And maybe have to do the Haalands on party tactic, which worked for Man City last night. But yeah, there's not really much you can do about that. But as Simon said, what was important is that we reacted to it. Because after a bit of a mixed, feelings around the club at the moment, we could have let our heads drop easily, and we didn't. So that's good after 2 losses in a row in the Premier League.
You could have, absolutely. We didn't, and that's all that matters. I mean, Billy mentions it there, Kallum. What were your thoughts when the ball hit the back of the net? I mean, it'd been a difficult week. We squeezed through against Coventry. We lost to Arsenal. I mean, I don't know about you. I'd only just really got seated in that, and the ball went in the back of the net. I was thinking, oh my God, this place is going to be quite toxic. If we don't find the goal. What were your what were your thoughts at the time? It's so early on.
Yeah, it was one of them where I just thought, could you be any more Spursy? It just had to be us. We hadn't even probably finished having our pre-match workout and all that stuff, and by that point, it just didn't even look like we'd registered it. I don't even think we'd touched the ball up to that. Well, within them first 20 seconds, and it was just very smack bang. I'd literally just sat down in the stadium, and literally everyone just went quiet. There'd all been the lovely build up to the game, all of that stuff, and then as soon as that ball hit the net, it was just like, oh, are we back to where we were again? Was Wednesday just sort of a little blip where we thought maybe that we had a little bit of fight back? But in reality, from that whole game, I think that first minute maybe was the only time that Brentford actually controlled the game. That's the thing. Other than that, we responded so well, like Billy and Simone have said. So, I mean, yeah, it's what we wanted, and maybe it didn't need to kick us up the backside a little bit to be able to get us going, because if you get hit like that, I mean, yeah, City, the best team in the Premier League, got hit by it last weekend. That's a freak. Against us, a cross into the box, us not closing people down, kind of expect it now. Just not that early, to be honest.
No, not that early at all. We talked a lot. I mean, a lot of Spurs podcasts and channels would have talked about quick start, put kind of the Coventry struggle behind us, put the North London derby behind us. Where's this reaction? And then we had that start, not only going behind in the game, but 23 seconds as well. I mean, that's not far off the record. Probably the quickest goal that Brentford have ever scored anyway. But Billy, more positive, because in the 8th minute, not that long after, that is a quick response if you ask me. It was 1-1. We levelled the game. Solanke getting his first goal in a Spurs shirt. A gift by Brentford, really, wasn't it? I mean, it was nice for Solanke to get his goal. Obviously, Maddison's shot comes back to him. But, if you're Thomas Frank, you're going to be fuming, aren't you? You started the game really well, doing what he wants to do, don't get me wrong, playing out from the back. But it's a really, really sloppy pass that leads to the goal.
Yeah, and I think that was a real key feature of our game against Brentford, was the pressing in the opponent's final third. Maddison in particular was amazing at it and got us a goal there and created numerous chances from it as well. And Solanke deserves a goal like that, I think, 'cause he's worked really hard over the last couple of games and not managed to score. So he deserves like an open goal like that. That's the least, probably the easiest chance, definitely the easiest chance that he's had since he's been here. And I think he deserves it. It was really good to see him score, but I think it came from Maddison, and I know we'll probably talk about it a lot more in detail. But I thought he was absolutely brilliant, and possibly his best game for us since he had that spell in the first 10 games.
Yeah, he was really good. I mean, Maddison's a player that I've noted down anyway to discuss later. Definitely, really, really good from him. Simon, what do you think about that goal there? Quick response from Spurs. Is that what you were looking for when we went behind? Yeah, that response in just a few minutes, getting that goal, bring us back in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just looking at the stats. We had 17 shots on goal. I think we had 3 big chances, and Billy touches on a big part of that. That was our pressing, our intensity, and I think there's been a lot of things made out of the adjustments that Ange did or didn't make for this game. And I hear that, and I saw a couple of those adjustments in terms of letting Son go a little bit narrower and letting Maddison go out on the wing, making sure that our fullbacks underlapped and overlapped much more, better movement, quicker play, stuff like that. But
yeah,
I think biggest change or improvement was our intensity and urgency. I think he described us as relentless after the game, and I thought that was a good description. Like, even if going behind on that goal, we played with an intensity and urgency that I haven't really seen us play with this season, and you can immediately see how much better Ange ball looks when you play with that intensity. And when you're less, focused on not losing the ball, but instead focusing on playing direct and playing forward and being brave on the ball, which means that you might have less possession, but your press then gets to do what it does best, win it back. And all of a sudden you're in transition, which is how we scored that goal. Maddison intercepting that ball and playing Son in, who plays, I think it was Brennan, right? No, Maddison pressing, winning the ball, having a shot in their box, and then us taking advantage of that rebound. And I think we scored both our goals that way. In transition, being aggressive in the press, having this urgency and relentlessness that didn't allow Brentford to play their game.
Yeah, exactly. I think we've done that really well. Nicely summarised. Kallum, it was Solanke's first goal in a Spurs shirt. Andrew was, asked post-match whether he needed that, and he said, kind of not really. Did he need that, though, did you think, for him? I mean, Coventry was frustrating, didn't get the service. I mean, a striker always needs a goal, don't they? Especially when they join a new club. I think Percy needed that. There's nothing against him at all, what he's done so far in the Spurs shirt, but he needed it in terms of to kick on really from there and kind of push on and really rally those numbers up.
Yeah,
Would you say,
exactly, mate. I mean, all forward players are based on confidence. They want to be pressing front foot football, scoring goals. So I mean, something like that would have done him the world of good and all that. I mean, he's been injured. And people I already saw giving him the tag of the new Richarlison from not being able to do anything right at the start of the season. Came in straight away, the new front man. Oh wait, he's dead again, sort of thing. But it's that scenario where no matter whether it's a tap-in or whether it's an amazing goal. I mean, Haaland gets every single type of goal that you want. Solanke, you would hope for even half the same for it. So to get that means that he hopefully will take this as a springboard to go forward. And I think it was a little bit of naivety from Ange once again to say that in his answer post-match. But I think that's just the way that Ange is as a manager at the moment with some of his comments. But to have that goal would have done Solanke the world of good and all that, because at the end of the day, it's going to be a long season. If he bags a goal every 2 games, happy days. We've got someone doing that, and it doesn't matter whether it's tap-in or the most amazing goal in the world. A goal's a goal, and he got us back on level terms, mate, at the end of the day.
And that's all that matters. I mean, you mentioned Ange there, and I think that his comments midweek about Solanke getting behind and not criticising him, I think he's right. But strikers do need that. He need that, and I think we will see. Even if he doesn't score necessarily against Qarabag, Man United, you see someone with more confidence. The first touch will be better. We've seen it with whatever striker. Even Erling Haaland. Once he gets that first goal, he won't stop. But there's periods at strikers because they have a goal doubt. Goal drought, whether it be in the season, but they get that goal and the goals do come. That's natural, not only just for strikers, but all players. But Kallum, we will stick with you because in the 28th minute, we go ahead for the first time in the match through Brennan Johnson, 2-2 for him. I want to focus on him individually. How happy were you for him when the ball hit the back of the net? We all know what's gone on with him recently, where he's deactivated his Instagram account. I personally think, it's disgraceful. So, what did you make of the goal, of course, itself? But Brennan Johnson, the resilience, he does think he's done really well. But he's also, hasn't he, got to differentiate those fans from social media to the real fans in the stadium that did sing his name.
Yeah, I was ecstatic for Brennan because I think there is a good player in there. I don't think there's an amazing player, but there is a very good young player in there who can develop into something special for us. And to get 2-2, like I said about Slinky, it's all about confidence. And after having to take down his socials, which was, obviously I'm not allowed to swear, so I won't say my honest views on it. But the whole thing was it was a joke from fans, and it's very easy to hide behind a keyboard and shout abuse, because I'm sure all of us, even on here, have got abuse from left, right and centre for our views. It's just an opinion. And with the way that Brennan reacted to it, he's 23, for crying out loud. You shouldn't have to do that as a reaction to your own fans. If it was opposition fans, maybe you just go, all right, it's a bit of heat at the moment. But your own fans, we can be very reactionary, the Spurs fan base, can't we? And we can only say about that because we're all Spurs fans. But when you convince your own player to do that, everyone was getting on his back the last 2 times saying, oh, he hasn't celebrated in front of the fans. He hasn't done this. Why would he celebrate in front of the fans? You lot have made him feel like a piece of so-and-so on the bottom of your foot. Why should he reflect on it? He's just playing his game to score goals and do it for the club. Simple as that. But really nicely worked team goal for it. It's kind of that picturesque Ange goal. And to be honest, Mark Flecken was absolutely diabolical for the goal anyway, to be honest. And I think Mark Flecken is one of the worst goalkeepers in the Premier League, so I'm glad Brennan Johnson made him pay for it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, well, he's certainly a downgrade on David Raya. Brentford, they're trying to be all smart and hold out, which I thought was right at the time, to be honest with you, for David Raya, but then they hardly got anything for him in the end, so they made a bit of a mess up, to put it nicely, of that deal. Nearly broke my own swearing rule there. Billy, we did take the lead. Brennan Johnson, what do you think? I think it's a really nice finish as well. We have touched on there, and I think we have touched on it before about some of the abuse he's received. I think we can all agree on this panel tonight. We might have different views about Brennan Johnson as a player, but any abuse isn't right to make him deactivate that Instagram account. But it's a really nice finish as well. That seemed like a player surprisingly in confidence. That's a confident finish, a striker's finish, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was reminiscent of another Welsh man, Gareth Bale.
It was.
That was the same kind of finish that Bale used to do week in, week out. But yeah, if he can start doing that a bit more regularly, that'd be fantastic. I'm a big fan of Johnson. I think he's massively over criticised. He's obviously a great profile match for Ange Ball in the way that Ange wants to play, which is why he continually picks him. And I hope to see more. I hope to see him get more goals and silence the idiots that give him abuse, because I think it's very fair to criticise players. But abuse is just ridiculous, and quite a few of the players have obviously been talking about it in the week after the Brennan Johnson goals, and it's obviously like just completely detrimental to the football club. Maddison was talking about it, Son was talking about it, Johnson was obviously talking about it. And those are not the kind of people that we want to be supporting our football club, to be honest.
No, we don't want them associated at all, do we? Well said. I think that, and as you say, criticism's fine. However good or bad a player may be when they wear the shirts, there's no need for abuse, especially not when they wear the shirt as well. I don't understand. I didn't understand when Davinson Sanchez got it. Didn't understand when Emerson Royale got it. Even Dyer, yes, it was time to go, but any abuse isn't warranted to someone who's been really loyal. I think fans have to have a scapegoat, and I think it is Brennan Johnson right now. A lot of it is around the price tag, I think, to be honest with you, but that's not his fault. He doesn't choose his value or what a club plays for him or sells him at. So I find it bonkers. But Simon, it is, as I said earlier, your debut on the show. So I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Brennan Johnson, the whole situation around him, but also the goal which gave us the lead in this game.
I mean, I like Brennan Johnson. The way I view players is I try to look at them through the lens of what kind of profile they are. And Brennan Johnson is a good player. Is he a limited player somewhat for what we want to do? Always, yes. But that, to me, that just means that you have to play in a certain way. You have to use him in a certain way. You have to play him against certain oppositions in games that suit his style of play, his strengths. When you look at those two goals, I think they exemplify what he does well, which is both those goals come from us winning the ball from intercepting it. In that Coventry game, it's Bentancur that wins it, intercepts it. And in this game, it was from Maddison again, intercepting it. And so in both our goals, in both those situations, you see him running into space, getting it when he has space in front of him, taking a touch. In this game, he dummied for a shot, and then he placed the ball in the far corner, which just shows you that he's got that speed and that technique to be able to, and that confidence to be able to execute something like that. Does he always suit games where he has to be touchline winger that is able to go both ways? No, but then every situation we encounter doesn't need that type of player. There's a reason why Ange likes him. When you play more direct, when you play with more speed, he's a good player, and he can get better. I think he still has some habits that come with a young player. He sometimes plays with his head down instead of looking up and making a decision, placing a ball with the right precision and with the right speed. But that's something he can improve on. And I definitely think he can become a player worth somewhere close to his value if you ignore the English tax. And when it comes to the fans, I mean, I'm old, so the way I look at these things is just I'm a supporter, which means that I look at when do players and a club and a coach need support. It's not when it's going great. It's when they struggle and when they need to hear it. So I try to be as supportive as I can when things aren't going as well. So to me, abusing a player in that way is so foreign, silly, and ridiculous and shameful. I barely think it's worth talking about, but it is, because we have to call it out. But I think you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I absolutely do. No, thank you very much. I said nicely. I think we all stand together, united. We should, as a fan base, against some of the criticism that Brennan Johnson and abuse that he's got. I want to move on in the game though. 40th minute, Vicario was robbed of possession, but Brentford couldn't quite take the chance after it came off Vicario. Kallum, you are shaking your head. I mean, what is Vicario doing? I mean, I don't think he was his best performance. Some I saw, after the game rated him quite highly, and he did make a couple of good saves. There's one, I think, was in that second half. I don't know what half it was. Anyway, it was a fantastic, really good save that reminded me a bit of Lloris. But that bit also reminded me of Lloris, robbed of possession. But you look at Kallum and go, okay, he made a mistake, but he made up for it with the save. Or you like me and kind of going, what is he doing? And it kind of really just comes off him. And Brentford should have converted that chance.
It's one of them where every time I watch Vicario now, I think, what the hell can go wrong? And I kind of say that with both of our first team keepers. Forster can't. He's like a duck out of water. As soon as he's like he's stuck in mud. And with Vicario, he's very much acrobatic. He's very dramatic. He's like a stage actor. Literally, if you put him in a musical, it'll be wonderful. He could do a dance, everything like that. But that's just a moment of idiocracy. You take one touch, then you take the second touch, and you fumble it, and then grab it. I mean, just obviously seeing it in the stadium, it was very difficult. But then I was looking at the commentary as well on Sky while I was there, and I was just thinking, they're all saying that this geezer's going to get sent off. And I think it probably could happen because it's just a moment of madness. And when we had been in control up to that point, and then you have an incident like that, I mean, that would have put Brentford 2-2. And realistically, after that first half, we should have been 6-7-1 up. That was awful. And that gives them their way into it. And I mean, we saw like with the Arsenal game yesterday against City, one lapse will just mean that you give something away. So, I mean, I like him as a keeper. I think he's great as a person. He's got a lot of personality. He's got a lot of character. He's a lot less wooden than Lloris was whenever he used to talk and do interviews. But Jesus, the guy has... he's got at least 1 or 2 moments per game where you just look at it and you go, these are going to stop you from being a top keeper because you just have these moments of madness. Or he sees red mist, and I don't know why, but it's just, he's erratic. I think erratic is the best way of putting it. He's unpredictable, and it just doesn't help us when we're trying to grow going forward, when he's the only keeper we can rely on. And even that is pushing it at some points, to be honest, at least over the last 6 months. He does make questionable decisions, and that could have easily given Brentford their way back into the game. And the fact that, he did make up for it a little bit later on with some of these wonder saves and these magical shot stops, that's great. But there was other moments where in that game where he's trying to play out the back and he nearly got caught in possession about 3 to 4 times because they just had Mbermo just putting him under pressure. It didn't inspire enough confidence in me, to be honest, mate, to feel confident with him.
No, I feel the same as someone who's at the stadium at the game as well. Just whenever we're playing out the back, not necessarily Vicario, but I think part of it was Brentford were pressing, but we just took longer than usual, and the passing wasn't quite at it at times in that first half. So that was really worrying. And Vicario was certainly taking his time. But yes, he does really good things in the game, Vicario, but also some really worrying, nail-biting stuff as well. But Billie, Vicario, talk to me about that moment. I mean, what were you thinking as a fan at the time, watching the game? I mean, we see Lloris do it. Southampton is what I can think of, right? It resulted in the goals. We've seen our goalkeepers do it. I mean, you see it across football every now and then. I mean, that could have been so much worse, couldn't it, really?
Yeah, definitely. It was a bit of a brain dead moment, and he's had a couple of them this season, but I think he's an excellent goalkeeper. A few minutes later, he made an absolutely outstanding save from that header, which was one of his better saves that he's made, and he's made a lot of them. I think he's a world-class shot stopper, but there are obviously some flaws to his game, which hopefully can be worked on and improved, because I think he's within reach of becoming a world-class goalkeeper. He just needs to cut out these couple of errors that he makes, show a bit more composure at times, and obviously set piece is a big thing as well. So, I don't have any doubts on him. I see some people question him on Twitter. I think he's a really, really good goalkeeper, a great signing, And these things happen to, there's not a single keeper in the world where these kind of things don't happen to sometimes. So as long as it's a habit rather than a bug, or a feature, whatever that saying is, a bug, not a feature, whatever it is, then I'm not worried about it, to be honest.
No, but I agree with you, Billy. I don't know what you think, but I think a large part of it is that he did make a mistake last season, and we had that with a goalkeeper. We saw the stats. Yeah, I think that's the first goalkeeper not to make a direct mistake leading to a goal, or should I say, directly leading to a goal in quite a few years. So I think the large part of the high standard he set himself last season, but every goalkeeper was going to make that mistakes. Give him the season, go from there. I'm not saying that I don't know. Maybe you might not be the goalkeeper to win the things. Maybe be Arsenal situation. Ramsdale, great shot stopper, takes us to that level, and in a few years' time, we get that goalkeeper of the next level. Alisson's Raya, Ederson's to go the next level. I don't know, but these days set himself high standards last year. I will move on to half time because it was we were leading 2-1 into the break.
Can I just say something on Vicario?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, go for it.
No, just to balance out the conversation. Like,
go for
I
it.
understand like what Kallum is saying and what you're saying, and I 100% agree that there's stuff that he needs to work on, especially picking and choosing when to come out and being more physical. He's tall and but he's not. Sometimes he doesn't look that strong, and especially exuding that confidence that calms everyone around and stuff like that. But I also think he's kind of a victim of our own weaknesses in the box. The stuff that I was talking about before, like the communication in the back line between when's it my ball, when's it your ball, and stuff like that. But in the wider context, I'm much more on the side of Billy. To me, he's a great goalkeeper. To me, he's our long-term goalkeeper. I think, and sees it that way. I think that's why he's been made part of the leadership group now as the vice captain. And I think like the context around him and the keeper we need is that there are very few keepers that can excel at all the things that we want them to do, being as exposed as they are playing our system. Like, he's supposed to be a great shot stopper. He has to come out and sweep. He should be great with this ball, with his feet. He should come out and dominate his box. Like, these are very different types of things. Whilst also he's limited in what he's allowed to do. So he's supposed to be brave on the ball, but also and invite pressure. He's not allowed to just chuck it. And when you have a keeper that's supposed to excel at all these areas, whilst also being limited in what he's allowed to do, that takes a lot. That's hard. There's not a lot of keepers that can be great at all those things immediately. So my view on it is just giving him more time. And I mean, if he's not good enough, we'll see. But he checks enough boxes for me, and is close enough on the things he doesn't excel at to me to feel comfortable with him long term.
Okay, no, that's fair enough. I think he certainly had a really good, start. He's done really well in a Spurs shirt so far. Really good season last season, and up until now, I think he's done a good job. Absolutely, I think there's no reason to rush into a decision like that. So I think he's done well. So I think you're right with that. 2-1 at half time. Billy, what were your overall thoughts on that first half? A lot happened, action-packed, some really positive things from Spurs' point of view, some really positive play, goals as well, 2 goals for us, but also some negatives, I think, in particular defensively, and those couple of moments from Vicario. So summarising it, what were your overall thoughts? How good were we?
I was a little bit disappointed to go in 2-1. I think we deserve more. And obviously, we kind of get worried when we're only ahead by 1 goal because we've seen how easy it is for teams to score against us sometimes. So I was a bit disappointed not to be going in. I thought we played really, really well. One of our best attacking performances of the season. And that continued in the second half, luckily. So not too much for drama. But I think Ange and the players would have been a bit disappointed to go in at 2-1 because we did create, I think we had something like 11 shots in the first 7 minutes, which is crazy. We're creating chance after chance, really. So a bit disappointed with 2-1.
Yeah, definitely. We deserve more than that. Brentford started well, but we took control for sure. I mean, Brentford did have their chances, but it wasn't all Spurs, I think. But we will move on to that second half. Kallum, I'll come to you next. 63rd minute was a substitution I want to focus on because Bissouma came on for Bentancur. What do you make of Bentancur's performance? Because obviously he's been really unlucky. I mean, last season, not just last season, but with injury and just different things going on. I don't know about you, but I thought that was the best I've seen of Bentancur, certainly for a very, very long while. I felt that, and we will get on to Maddison later, but them two in that midfield, along with Kulusevski as well. I mean, they were just another level. I know it's only Brentford, but that felt like a really good performance, really calm on the ball. And all the things we've all criticised him for, I felt he was really good as a number 6. We never really looked under threat. And that backline was protected by one man in Bentancur. So what did you make of his shift?
Yeah, I thought all three of them had a really good game. And like you said, H, it's one of them games where when Bentancur is the Bentancur that we know and love, he can be a world-beating midfielder. He can do everything and more than we want. And over the last 6-7 months since the ACL injuries that he's had and the niggling injuries, to pick up on that, his games have been few and far between where we have really seen how he is. But this was one of them dominant performances. He controlled everything going throughout the midfield, picking up passes from the back line, pursuing it and passing it on to our more attacking 8s or 10s or whatever you want to call them, because I know Ange doesn't like to label them. So, I mean, something like that did fill me with confidence. The only problem is that we're now seeing how good he is again. And if he gets this momentum going and then he gets this stupid FA ban that could be coming of 6 to 12 games, does it mean that we will then see Bentancur regress again after that period of 3 months not being here, and he'll go back to being a half the player that we know he is? And I think we are very spoilt to have a player like that, because he is so creative and so domineering. And as a player, he does a lot of stuff that other people that we've got can't do. So I think we are very lucky to have him, and to come off with that sort of performance, I thought was very good. I wonder whether he might have had a small niggling injury or whether Ange was just rotating him to give him a bit of space. But when you go from that to then having Bissouma come straight on and get a straight yellow card within a minute, I thought, seriously, could you be any more of an idiot in doing that? Bentancur's gone straight the way through and showed everything that we've done, and then Bissouma straight on, completely pointless challenge, 30 minutes remaining for it. But I really love Bentancur, and for the price that we paid for him, 2.5 years ago, I thought was a steal and a half. And even just seeing him a couple of games a season, I think he's graceful. He's just got that air about him that's kind of a little bit of Moussa Dembele-esque on the ball, a little bit of Modric crossover. I mean, there's a lot to be desired about the end product. I don't think he creates enough or scores enough, but that's not what he's asked to do. So it's just, he is a good option as an 8 or a 6, I think, for us, mate, to be honest.
He is that versatility, and a lot of people go, "Oh, I can't play the 6," but then he follows up with a good performance like that. I mean, you could pick out anyone for that really good performance, and once we've got through everything that happened in the game, we will do that. Who stood out to us the most? But Bentancur obviously did make way. That's why we're focusing on him. Simon, what do you make of Rodrigo Bentancur? Could this be a really big season for him, where he's a regular starter in that midfield 3? And if obviously, provided he stays injury free, if that ban doesn't go ahead, who knows?
I mean, I love him. I couldn't agree more with Kallum. I think he hit the head on the nail. Is that how you say it in English? Hit the nail on the head. He's great. I mean, sometimes I wish what?
You said it right second time. Hit the nail on the head. You literally did at that moment.
Thank you. Sometimes I wish we could make Bentancur and Bissouma can make a little child, so we had the perfect 6 destroyer. I don't know if this ban is. I think it's exclusively for the Premier League, right? So I'm not concerned because in the way that he won't play, because we do have European play and we do have cups, and so he'll probably get game time there if he does get that ban. But it does limit us, because what I really like with his performance yesterday is that he's so alert to danger. There were so many times he he saw a dangerous pass and intercepted it, no, he was just great destroyer. He's just great presser. He's just so good at keeping the ball up on their side of the pitch. So to me, he's better at that part than Bissouma. Bissouma can switch off sometimes, but then Bissouma is much more press resistant. He's much more secure in the build up when you face teams that really press you man to man or are aggressive in that way. Where I think Bissouma or Bentancur might be a little bit more insecure, doesn't have the same touch, doesn't have the same body fence and stuff like that. So if you could just make one player out of those two, we'd have the perfect six, but we don't. So I do like that we have both that we can rotate depending on what kind of game we face. So not having him in some ways limits us. But then again, we have Gray, so maybe he can be that destroyer in those games because he's good at that stuff. So let's see what happens. But yeah, I'm really happy to see him give us that type of performance and seeing him back after a really serious injury.
Yeah, it's really good to see. Can he keep it up? I think he can keep it up. It's whether he's fit or not, and whether he gets suspended, as you kind of touched on there. So no, I completely agree with you, Simon. Really good performance from him. Billy, a little question for you here. Actually, I've just thought of while Simon was speaking. On paper, what would be our best midfield three at the moment in time? In this moment in time, I think that obviously a lot of it does depend on the opponent. But if you had to choose, what would it be? I find that really tough to choose the three.
This one, the one that we've just played, I think, at the moment. I think Bissouma, Bentancur is about a 50-50. I don't think there's much in it. Bentancur plays like he did yesterday, then he's probably our best midfielder. And then Kulusevski has been our best player of the season. And Maddison finally showed, what we've been missing in the last few games. So that would be my midfield, Bentancur, Kulusevski and Maddison.
Love it. That's a really strong midfield. Anyone else have anything to say about that, Kallum or Simon? Do you agree?
Like to me, it looks like we're really, going for it, going to a more 4-3-3, which makes us having a 1-6 and two more attacking players, one on the left side, one on the right side. And in that case, I agree with Billy. I think us having that type of attacking-minded, pressing team, that makes Bentancur the best fit for most games. Whilst, if I can pick and choose 3 or 4 games, I'd put Bissouma in there just to make sure we can progress the ball against teams like Man City and Liverpool or whatever. But yeah, I agree with Billy.
Okay, that's interesting to hear. Kallum, do you agree that that's probably our best midfield three if you had to pick?
For a game like that, yeah. But you know me, I love my tactics, I love my footy manager, so I'll always be more reactionary when it comes to specific games. So I mean, if you've got a team that's going to be pressing you a lot, then you'd want players like Sarr, Bissouma, probably Bentancur as a solid unit in there. If you've got teams that you need to break down around low blocks, different bits like that, then you'd probably want a formation like that today. But my hope is that based on the way that Bergvall and Gray are, I'm hoping that they probably do oust a couple of these players by the end of the season and take their chances for it. So I'm definitely an advocate to say there's got to be at least one space maybe up for grabs, but realistically, Kulu could potentially push up as sort of a backup 9 or a wide 10, something like that for it. So you're always going to have that space in there if he decides to drop Johnson, Son. So I think it's a much bigger issue than just going who would be our best middle three. I think it's a much wider
of course.
categories when it comes to each night.
Yeah, no, definitely. No, I think a lot of it does depend on the opponent who you're playing because, you're not going to play, well, maybe Anfield, but you shouldn't play the same way, Arsenal, Man City you do against Wycombe Wanderers, Marine, for example, we happened to play quite a while ago in the FA Cup, just come to me there. But I want to move back to the game, 85th minute, we cherry on top, if you like, icing on the cake, whatever way you want to say it. 85th minute it was. 3-1 Spurs. Maddison with the goal. Just felt right as well, didn't it, Billy? Assisted by Son. He got 2 assists in that game, Son, which is really interesting as well. Perfect ending to the game, wasn't it? Total domination in the end for Spurs. I don't think Brentford were bad. I just think we were really good. But yeah, summed up the day, the performance, and Matters getting I think he got a goal and assist. I think he hasn't done that yet in the Spurs shirt.
Yeah, it's an interesting one on Son. He created 7 big chances yesterday, which is more than any player has ever made in the Premier League this season. I think he's made more big chances than any other player this season in total as well. I don't think he had a particularly good game, one of his better games, but he's still really effective, getting in goal, two assists. You know, I think he's only a couple off Darren Anderton's record now to be our Premier League top assister. But Maddison, I thought, was outstanding all game. He led the press. He was sort of tactically, obviously, he was almost playing as a left winger yesterday, and he drew Son out quite on Saturday, and he allowed Son to be more central, and it was a really effective tactical switch, I think, which we saw from Ange. I think it's probably something that we'll look out for a lot more. Maddison sort of drifting out to the left a lot more.
It worked really nicely, I think. It had a really nice balance in that midfield. Obviously, the question is it too offensive, too attacking minded when we come up against the bigger teams, even like Man United the weekend? Can we go with that? Can we take that risk? Can we put that strain on that back line? I would probably go yes, because I feel there's more of a strain there when Basuma plays, because I think he gets so far forward and carried away in the game. This isn't a dig at Basuma, but I feel that Bentancur at times just sat and done his job and offered that protection. And there wasn't times where our centre-backs were isolated. Wasn't many times, should I say, whereas, you know, Newcastle last year was a prime example where Van der Ven was isolated to the point where mistakes happen because there's pressure on, there's spotlight. So I think Bentancur is actually really good at that, sitting back and play a pass from further back. I see him as almost like a Bruno Fernandes type player, Glenn Hoddle player, but deeper, capable of picking out that pass. I think he's better than a lot of people give him credit for. So yeah, it was the perfect ending, wasn't it, Simon, to the game? How are you going to say it? Cherry on top, icing on the cake, whatever way suits you best.
It was perfect. I mean, we had those 10 minutes, I think, between 45 and maybe 50 minutes, 45 to 60 minutes, when the game was a little bit, shaky, and then we made a couple of subs. Bissouma came on, etc., and we really kind of pushed on, and then Maddison, I think this was the first game he had both assist and a goal. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah. So I think him getting that reward after 6 months of trying to get back into form. I mean, I never kind of bought into this notion that he was finished or gone. I feel like with Maddison, it's always about him. He's not super mobile, so he needs to be comfortable in his fitness and his body to be able to move and to be confident in what he wants to do on the pitch. And to me, when he plays like this, you can totally see why he's so important, why he played so well in those first 10 games, because we have a lot of talented midfielders, Sarr, Bentancur, Berival, Gray, Bissouma, but they're all good at progressing the ball by carrying it. Maddison is the player that can thread the pass, that can have the vision to kind of bridge, the build up with the attack. And so when he plays like he did that game, it's amazing. So to us, this season, with having so many more games, it's going to be about how do we manage his minutes? How do we keep him up to this fitness? Because I do feel like he's never had like a full season playing this well, even at Leicester. At least that's what I've heard from Leicester fans that watched him more. So it's going to be, I think he knows that as well. So it's about, us managing him and him keeping that focus to be able to reach that next level. So yeah, it's a perfect end to that game, and what a finish. Ice cold. So yeah, happy with that.
Yeah, lovely finish. I think we can't underestimate Romero's importance in the goal, that drive, that pass on as well. Very good. So Maddison, set Maddison up 1-on-1, but still calm, composed finish. A bit like we saw from Brennan Johnson. I suppose Johnson wasn't expected to score from that angle. Maybe that's a slight difference, but really well taken goals, 2 of them. The other one, first goal, Solanke, right place, right time. That's not striker's job. You can't complain about that either. But yeah, that's it. We won 3-1 against Brentford. Back to winning ways. We've got the job done. We won't look at the league table or anything like that yet. We'll leave that until a lot nearer Christmas, because it wasn't much progress in terms of the league table. But I think that importance of the 3 points for Ange Postecoglou and Spurs cannot be underestimated. But player of the match is what I want to move on to, and feel free to talk about players that generally impress you before getting to your answer. So be thinking about that now, because I might go in a random order. Kallum, who would you say is your player of the match? Also, who stood out to you?
Player of the match, I'd probably go for Maddison. I think, like the guys have said, it was one of his best games. It definitely had an air of sort of arrogance about him, something that we kind of expect, where he knew everything that he was going to do 9 times out of 10 was going to go his way. And you kind of want that from someone who knows that they have just that skill to be able to do it. And it's like the guys have said, we haven't seen enough of it potentially in the last season and a quarter sort of thing. But yeah, definitely his day. He definitely had all of it. I'd say other notable mentions, positive wise, probably Solanke could have had a few goals that day, so very good from him. The same from Kulu, the same from Bentancur. A really bad notable mention, and obviously this is purely just my view, is Son. I thought Son was greedy. I thought even though he got 2 assists, I thought he was so wasteful, and I actually thought he hindered the way that we played on Saturday a little bit, to be honest, for quite large portions of the game. And probably that a lot of people will probably want to shoot me after that comment, to be honest. But it's just the way that it was. I just thought he didn't do anyone credit. But yeah, man of the match for me, Maddison. And Simone, do you use that mic to shout at pigeons outside your house as well? Can that be used for that?
That's exactly it. That's why I bought it. I use it to and I have it, connected to a speaker, and I shout at my kids while not having to move from my chair.
That's a game changer. That I absolutely love that. Need to invest in that. But it's interesting you mentioned Son there, because I was actually talking to my dad coming out of the game, and I said, we both agreed that Son was disappointing. I was talking about I didn't think he had the press, maybe his legs are going. But then I go on Twitter and there's a lot of positive praise, and the stats back it up as well. So it made me think, okay, it's really interesting. That's what I like about football, and I like about fans. You interpret performances differently. Some stats really well, 2 assists, and really important. But I did also feel that he was wasteful. But all that matters, he won the game, and stats look good for him. I don't think he's finished or anything at all, but I don't think at the same time it was his best performance. But who knows about that? But yeah, player of the match, Simon. I'm interested to hear your player of the match. I think there's quite a few.
I mean, I feel boring. I want to say Maddison, but Kallum took him already. So let's see. I think Bentancur is probably the next one up, because I think he was so important. We have a tendency to complain about all those chances we concede on the counter, and I think we would have seen a lot more of those if Bentancur hadn't played as well as he did.
Definitely.
So I'm going to give him a shout. But then, and I do agree. I mean, Son, we know Son. He's a world-class player, but he has dips in form and confidence. And I think with the expectations we have, if we see him free on goal 2 times, maybe even 3, we could arguably say, and he doesn't make the best out of those chances, we will perceive him to have like a game not up to his standards. So I totally understand that perspective. But with that said, I do think he's looked better in this game than he's looked in other games that we've seen, in terms of his positioning, being able to be more closer to goal and being able to go into the box and stuff like that. So I'd say Bentancur, Maddison, and let me give it to Johnson. I think I'll give him a player of the week kind of shout here, so I'm breaking the rules, but I hope you allow me. Yeah.
Absolutely will allow you. I think there's a lot to choose between. I don't think you can say that for, apart from maybe Everton, many of even that. I don't think you could give too many names. But this, I find it hard to narrow it down. Come out of it thinking Solanke, movement is fantastic. Hold up play, we've really missed that. But then I thought Bentancur, wow, that's his best performance for ages. Maddison, back to his best. It's just Kulusevski again, really good. I think he's been one of our better players so far this season. But Billy, have you got anyone different? Other than Maddison, Bentancur in that midfield?
I don't have anyone different. I do think it's definitely Maddison, but just going to go Mikey Moore just because, it's good to see him. And I hope that's first of a lot of minutes in the next couple of weeks, especially with the cup games coming up. So I'm only going Mikey Moore just because I think it's obviously Maddison. But I really do hope we get to see a bit more of Mikey Moore than a couple of minutes against Qarabag.
Hopefully, fingers crossed. What might start, I don't know. We will get into Qarabag, but I want to talk about who's been our player of the season so far. I mentioned Kulusevski there. I wonder if he's in any of your kind of thoughts. Billy, I'll come back to you. Actually, is player of the season so far? We're a few games in 6 games in all competitions. Someone that's been really impressed you. Maddison was mentioned on Sky Sports. I did mention Kulusevski earlier. Did anyone? We talk about players impressing that game, but so far in the season.
Kulusevski I think is definitely the standout player, I would say, because he's been impressive in almost every game that he's played. And he did come on and change the game against Coventry in the midweek. So I definitely think Kulusevski. I think Van der Ven has been consistently very good as well. I think Romero will be a little bit disappointed in his play and some of the goals that we've conceded this season. And possibly Bentancur might be worth a shout as well. He's been pretty decent all season, but I think we've had a couple of losses recently, and I think the only one to come out with consistently good things is Kulusevski. So for me, definitely Kulusevski by a long way, actually.
Kulusevski by a long way. Okay, interesting. Now I feel the same. I think he's really set the standard, and up until this, there wasn't really many that stood out. I go Kulusevski, then followed by Maddison, but still a fairly big gap. But Simon, what are you thinking for player of the season so
I agree
far?
with you guys. Yeah, I totally agree with you guys. I think Kulusevski and Maddison and Van der Ven have been the standouts. Romero's had a pretty poor. I mean, he's had good games, but considering how important it is and how detrimental the mistakes he's made, how they punished us, I'd say he's probably has a lot of headspace to kind of grow into the season. If I'm going to give a shout that's a little bit unexpected, I'd say Bissouma, maybe. I think if we consider he scored a goal. I think we've seen a couple of performances from him where we've been really encouraged by him looking like the best of himself, kind of similar to Maddison in the sense of him looking more like himself at the start of the season than he did at the end of last season. Same as Bentancur, actually. So, yeah, and I have to agree with, kind of felt left out. I want to say Solanke. I think he's looked amazing. The way he, the way he kind of centers a lot of our attacking play. And we have to remember, I mean, he didn't have any preseason. So he's not played with Son, Maddison, Kulusevski, and Johnson. And I think we'll see a lot more from them. But in terms of his hold-up play, his ability to drop a little bit deep and connect play, but also be a target in the box. From what I've seen, I think he looks like the right choice for handball. So maybe not the player of the season, but I'll put him as my rookie of the season.
Okay, that's interesting. Someone in the chat there mentioned Pedro Porro. That's interesting. That's a good shout. I think going forward, Pedro Porro definitely defensively. I don't know. There's been a couple of times he's been exposed, but who hasn't? When you're in that Spurs defense and the way that we do play. Kallum, what are you thinking? Player of the season? Are you with the guys? Kind of Kulusevski in particular has been really good and above the rest.
Yeah, Kulu kind of takes it for me. I wouldn't even put Maddison in the same sentence as him, to be honest. I think apart from against Brentford, I think he's been really poor. I think he's been very selfish, or he's played himself out of games where he's just tried to do everything himself and not tried to utilise the team around him. Pedro Porro, not too bad, not great though, very much getting caught out for different moments in the first couple of games as well. I like Simone's idea of the rookie of the year with Solanke. I think there's been good sight seeing him on the pitch. You can definitely see that it gives us a focal point for attacks. Son's been all right. I think our defence hasn't been great, to be honest. I don't think they've really covered themselves in glory because a lot of the mistakes have come from set pieces or from counter attacks where they've been caught ball watching. So yeah, probably maybe Kulu, Bentancur, Basuma with an off chance maybe in there, but there's definitely been a lot of players who, and I know it's only 5 games in, but there's quite a few people who rely on squad options who are nowhere near pushing the squad forward to be going as first team players sort of thing. You want that competition, and I don't think enough of them are doing it at the moment. So I just hope that we take these 2 wins and use it as a springboard and don't revert back to our old way in the next couple of games. Let's put it that way.
Hopefully not. Hopefully, it continues. Good form, good player performances, good team performance. But we'll move on to Qarabag, who we play Thursday night. First Europa League game. First question for the panel is, can we win the Europa League? And I just want a simple yes or no answer, right? And this isn't, are we going to win the Europa League? The question is, can we win it if we go all out for it? That is the question. So I'm going to go around in no particular order, just a yes or no answer. Billy, can we win the Europa League? Do we have the squad to do so if we go all out for it?
Most definitely, yes. Definitely.
That's what we like to hear. Kallum?
Yeah, I'll back it.
Yeah. So will I. Simon?
Yes, we're the favourites.
Oh, we're the favourites. I like that. A little bit.
I thought that was United.
No. Not with Ten Hag.
Not with Ten Hag, no. That's a fair shout.
That or
Okay,
is it Fenerbahce with Mourinho, ain't it? He was blowing his own trumpet the other day saying that he could win it.
They just got beat 3-0 from Galatasaray. Davinson Sanchez masterclass at the weekend. 3-0.
I saw as well today, Lascelles scored once again. Maybe it's a mistake to let him go.
He just makes us. No. The geezer had no legs.
I wanted to leave him on, but I'm just saying he's left Tottenham and he's doing well.
He spent the same amount of injury time in our bloody injury room as Wiltshire did when he was at Arsenal. So I think that's a no-brainer on that one.
He's where he's supposed to be, and we're all happy for him, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think he's where he should be, as you say. I think he'll really kick on and have a good season and rest of his career, however long that may be. I want to move on to the game itself and the lineup. So Simon, we'll come to you actually. Any changes you'd make? Would you go all out for it? How strong would the team be?
I mean, yeah, that's the question. I think looking at the Coventry game, it was apparent probably for most fans there was too many changes. I hope Ange learned that lesson. I think he might have suspected it, but considering how important that game against Brentford were, he took a risk. I hope he doesn't take the same kind of risk, but I don't think it's impossible considering we have Manchester United the week after. I think like the question for this game and the game after, which is our 2 European games against lesser opponents, the question will be how many changes does he make? And to me, I'm of the opinion that we're deeper, we have better depth than we had the seasons previous, but we're not at the level where we can make wholesale changes. We have a couple of players that are fundamental to us being able to play edge ball, which is, I think you need to have one of Romero, Van der Ven, have one of our fullbacks, Vicario playing. You need to have one of Kulusevski and Madison and probably our striker need to play, considering Richarlison is injured. So to me, I'd rather start a little stronger, making sure that we get a result, making sure that we start strong, and maybe make 4 or 5 changes, and then be smarter throughout the season with rotating out players, making sure that we win games earlier, take our chances, and being able to rotate in players that need time not to come into these European games cold. So, yeah, I think it's a big question. You never know with that, but I hope he starts a little bit stronger and takes the competition seriously and doesn't think that just because it's a new format and it's more games that we can, be sloppy with these easier games, in quotation marks.
Hopefully not, because I don't think we can be. I do agree with you. If I'm going to be completely honest with you, I wouldn't make any changes. Maybe bring in Basuma. I'd go absolutely all out for it at the start, and then we're winning by 2-3 goals ideally, blowing our own trumpet, and we make those substitutions for Man United. We get the job done. I think that way that your first team players play less minutes, because you look at what we've done against Coventry. We're bringing players on before the hour mark already. They're already playing half an hour. I mean, if my plan goes together nicely at Qarabag, they might only need to play half an hour as well if it all goes well. Half time we could have blown them away. It could be funny. You don't know. I do think they're in the Champions League though. I don't think they lasted very long, but I remember them in the Champions League. I think they lost 2-0 or something to Dinamo Zagreb. I seem to remember watching them on TV. I could be completely wrong, but I do think they have been in the Champions League in the last couple of years, but who knows? Billy, what would your kind of lineup look like? Would you also go strong considering Coventry, where we had to rely on the big guns?
If I take you back a couple of years ago when we played Sheffield United and we dropped Harry Kane to rest him for a league game, and then we lost the league game and we lost against Sheffield United. So
that was awful.
I don't think it was Wolves. Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
I don't think that ever works out for us. I would start strong. Maybe I'd probably start Basuma. And keep the rest of the team pretty much the same. Possibly, change it around the midfield a little bit and possibly on the wing. But I'd go strong, and then, as you say, once you get a lead, then you can start to bring on your Bergvall, your Archie Gray, and your Mikey Moore. But it's cost us dearly over the last few years, especially in the Europa League in particular, where we never seem to got the balance. And the fact that we've never made the Europa League final when we've quite often been, one of the best teams in it is crazy to me. So we haven't managed to get the balance right before. So I think it's about time we start taking it seriously, because I think it's our best bet by far of getting in the Champions League. I think it's much easier to win the Europa League than it is to finish 4th this season with how strong the league is at the moment.
That's the reality. I know Villa got Champions League, but looking really strong at this moment in time. Newcastle, I think, will come back following Fulham.
Chelsea, Liverpool, Man United.
Yeah,
I hope there's going to be about 7 or 8 teams competing for those 4 spots, so it'll be difficult.
Yeah. We're all laughing at Man United kind of at the moment, and especially near the start they had. But with new signings, if that does go together, and I don't think they could challenge or anything like that, but I think that's a top 4 or 5 team to be able to compete with. And Chelsea as well, I think they found a little bit of consistency. You never know with them, all the off-the-pitch things. It wouldn't surprise me if it all goes wrong and the manager's gone by Christmas. But for now, it does look consistent. It's flowing nicely. They have a really good forward line. Palmer, Manwake, Sancho. I think that's really good, and then Jackson, who's in form up front, he's been given a lot of service, so I don't know how much you rate him when he's given that level of service, but he's certainly taking the chances. Kallum, what would you change in that team? How strong would you go? Would you make the mistake that we've done, what feels like 47,000 times, and undermine and underestimate the opposition?
I wouldn't underestimate them, but I think that we're actually quite limited, to be fair, because based on how many people are out, so we've got 2 actually in our Europa League squad who are long-term injuries.
No Jed
and
Spence.
Richarlison. Yeah, no Spence.
4 goalkeepers,
no
though, Kallum.
So there's your.
Put one of the goalkeepers in
yeah,
midfield.
only because only because the homegrown quota, because we are so silly not to be able to promote our own players. But I mean, when you think Odegaard and Richarlison are out injured, so you've lost 2 front attacking options. So that leaves you Son, Solanke, Johnson, Maddison, and Kulusevski for that, because I wouldn't trust.
It's not bad
Timo
options,
Werner.
though.
Oh no, I know, But I mean, it doesn't give you much option to rotate or have the squad
No.
options, because I wouldn't touch Timo Werner with a barge pole. To be honest, I'd probably happily, if we was playing in Qarabag, I'd leave him in Qarabag and tell him to get the flight home to Leipzig. To be honest, after how poor he was last week, but it doesn't really allow you much flexibility with your front line. To be honest, maybe 2-3 changes. I'd maybe say give Romero a break, maybe Porro. And maybe so I'd probably say maybe bring in a Gray, a Dragosin, and maybe a Basuma, something like that. That's the sort of flexibility that I think we've got. But then with that leaving us only 19 available squad players to have as first team players, you've then got to supplement that with your youth. So you will have your Europa League B players, Lancashire, Mikey Moore, maybe Tyree Hall, Max Robson, Dante Casanova, maybe Coromatan, but I'm not too sure. It doesn't leave you much flexibility to it. But if you can do it, then happy days. Maybe 3 people come in as flexibility sort of rotation. Like you said, get the job done early, and then you can start putting on Bergvall, Moore, and some of the youth players for it, or even Saar, just to shore something up.
Yeah, definitely. Spurs Diehards makes a really interesting comment in the chat. It says teams are allowed 12 substitutions on the bench in the Europa League, so expect to see some of the academy players. We will move on to score predictions. Kallum, we'll come back to you. What's your score?
It's going to be definitely a scoring game. We will definitely concede, most likely from a set piece, because we still can't defend them. So I'm going to go 3-1 Spurs.
3-1 Spurs. Love it. Simon, what are you thinking?
It will crush them if we put out a good team. So 5-0.
Ooh, love it. I was going to go with. I was going to go.
Just to be edgy. I just want to be edgy. I'm sorry, guys. I just want to impress you guys.
You already have with the
really
mic.
smart.
As soon as you came on in the backstage with the mic, I thought, well, he's got me there. He's a professional, ready to go. So thanks.
But just to add to what Billy said, I think if we really think about it, for the club, winning a cup or winning the Europa League is, I mean, it's the best for all parties involved. It gets the fan base on board in a huge sense for the project. It helps the players with the confidence. It gets us. It's easier to get into the Champions League. So, to me, I really hope he at least leaves his spine in there. But you know how it is with Ange. He has a lot of things to think about. I think it's one thing what we want, but I think he can be thinking, you know, I don't want players to go weeks without starting a game and then being cold when we need them and stuff like that. So I hope we start strong, and I think if we do, we'll crush those guys.
Hopefully you're right. That's what we like to hear. Billy, what's your score prediction?
I think we'll beat them. As long as we could play strong. But I don't think they're a particularly bad side. A couple of years ago, they finished second in their group behind Bayer Leverkusen, drew at Bayer Leverkusen. They beat Braga 4-2 at home. So I don't think they're not a terrible side. But then, you know, we should be significantly better if we play our best. So I think we'll win 3-1. But, you know, I think
Billy with the research making me look bad.
That's because I'm a seasoned football bettor, and one of my pro tips is bet on Qarabag to win every single week because they absolutely walk their league. So I do keep an eye on them just because I always bet on them on a Saturday.
Yeah.
They always win easily. So yeah, they're a good side, but we should beat them easily.
We should do. Spurs Diehard says there we've beaten Qarabag twice. Before 3-1 at home, Son 2, Lamella got 1. Away we won 1-0 with a Kane goal. And he says, just adding to what he said, Billy, that Qarabag top of their league with 5 wins and just a single loss. It's quite impressive, but I think it kind of wraps us up nicely for today's show. Thank you to everyone who tuned in for their questions, for their comments throughout. Once again, if you are new to the channel, don't forget to smash the subscribe button. There'll be people that are watching and listening now that haven't. Even if you are listening after on the podcast platform, head over to YouTube, search Scarfe Spurs and do smash that subscribe button. It does help the channel and the podcast grow and expand and improve our content. If you are listening on the podcast platform, don't forget to listen to all the way through. Leave us a 5-star review and a follow. A big thanks to my panel as well. Simon, who made his debut today. Thank you very much. Where can people find you across social media? I'm sure they'll be interested.
You can find me on Simon Yemane on Twitter, or you can come to Sweden and try to find me.
I think the social media route might be a little bit easy in this case, but some people will quite like to go out to Sweden. That's for sure. So there we go. Thank you very much for coming on. Billy, thank you as well. Where can people find you across social media?
Just Billie T on Twitter, and hope to see everybody voting for you in the Football Content Awards, because you definitely deserve it.
Oh, thank you very much. That's very kind of you. Thank you for that. Yeah, it's quite nice to hear today that I've made both categories. I've actually put the link in the chat. People want to nominate me. The two that I've been finalists for are Best Young Content Creator and Equality, Inclusion, Diversity, Individual Award. You have until the 13th of October. So the link's there. If it doesn't let you click on it, copy that into whatever search browser. They made it a lot easier this year, which is fantastic. So yeah, it's great to be back-to-back finalists at Spurs as well. So it does just feel right. So no, thank you very much for that. It's been a very good day. Kallum, where can people find you across social media, and talk to people about Part Lane Podcast as well?
As always, mate, thanks for having me on, and obviously well done with all the categories. So I will be voting for you again this year, and I'm sure I will meet up with you for a coffee if you do win eventually. Absolutely. As well. But yeah, so you can find me at CallumStubbs97 on Twitter. Obviously, you can follow myself, Luke, Dave, Wes, and Winnie at Part Lane Pod Sunday nights, and then you've got Dave with his FPL extras on a Wednesday night as well at the Fat Boy pod, I think it is, or something like that. So someone did win some money this week. It wasn't me, but yeah. So I mean, obviously, go and check us out, and well. Yeah, it's not me going to win, is it? Come on. Every time I bloody do something on there, I lose somehow or other. But yeah, obviously go and check us out. And I think we will be back on Sunday to do pretty much whatever we do, depending on how it goes for the Man United game and the Qarabag game.
Let us lay back as always, just the same as when I left. There we go. Go check out all the guys across all social media. Thank you very much for tuning in once again. Keep the faith, believe in the project, and up the Spurs.
You were working as a manager at Celtic Park when we met you. We picked you out, you shook us up and turned us around. You've turned us into something new. Ange, Postecoglou, you know that we believe it when you say you're gonna change it. Ange, Postecoglou, we're the mighty Tottenham and nobody's gonna stop them. Oh, we look so fine in blue and lily white. And then he said to me, I'm from a land down under. Postecoglou, baby. Postecoglou, oh. Postecoglou, baby. Postecoglou, oh. Postecoglou, baby. Postecoglou, oh. Postecoglou, baby. Postecoglou, oh.